It started with a sound, shrill, mechanical, cutting through the glass and steel of the executive floor. The noise was so out of place, so jarring, that for a moment time itself seemed to freeze. Every conversation halted, every footstep paused, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Red LEDs blinked warnings across the server room's face, bathing the CEO's features in an angry glow. The lights pulsed in a rhythm that felt almost alive, casting long, shifting shadows across the walls and reflecting in the CEO's wide, disbelieving eyes. Outside, panic vibrated in the air. Text typed furiously, beads of sweat pooling on their brows. The hum of whispered fears and frantic keystrokes filled the space, as if the very air was charged with static and dread. The screens refused to yield, every button press answered by a harsh, digital denial. Error messages multiplied, crawling across monitors like a spreading infection, each one more cryptic and urgent than the last. The CEO, jaw clenched, barked orders. His voice, usually smooth as silk, now came out raw and desperate. He demanded answers, but none came. Only more questions, and the growing sense that control was slipping away. Security badges were useless. The server room door, a seamless slab of brushed steel, remained locked. No override codes worked, no master keys responded. The heart of the company was sealed shut. Above it, a message. Patent Reversion. Unauthorized use. No one had ever seen it before. Now, it was all anyone could see. The words glowed with a finality that chilled the room. A warning and a sentence all at once. Mainframes hummed, then fell silent. Keyboards clapped, a staccato of futility. The digital heartbeat of the company faded, replaced by a heavy, oppressive silence. Somewhere, a glass shattered. A throne mug, frustration incarnate. The sound echoed down the hall, a sharp punctuation to the chaos. PowerPoints for the billion-dollar demo flickered dead. Faces blanched as the realization hit. The future they promised investors was dissolving before their eyes, replaced by confusion and fear. The system was gone, not broken, not hacked. Taken. The emptiness of the server racks mirrored the emptiness settling in their chests. A night that should have been triumph was now a siege. Outside, sirens. Inside, the red lights pulsed, accusing. Every shadow seemed to whisper of betrayal, every siren a reminder of what was lost. The company's empire, built on secrets, was under lockdown, and nobody in the room had the key. The world outside waited for answers, but inside, only questions remained, echoing in the darkness. Flashback. Earlier that day, before the world shifted beneath Elias's feet, the conference room was glassy, cold, and silent, a sterile aquarium where ambition and fear swam in equal measure. Elias sat alone at the far end, hands folded, posture rigid. He'd spent 38 years solving impossible problems, building the very foundation of this company's success. Today, he was a problem to be solved. The CEO entered, a shadow in a bespoke suit, flanked by HR, their faces unreadable, their presence a silent verdict. The insults came quick, sharp, rehearsed. Your methods are obsolete, Elias. This isn't the 1990s. We need innovation, not nostalgia. The words echoed off the glass, each one a calculated blow. The CEO leaned in, smiled thin as a razor. Your legacy? Paperweight. The air was thick with mockery and the scent of finality. Elias did not flinch, his dignity a silent shield. His eyes stayed on the CEO's, unblinking, refusing to yield. Then the final insult. The CEO picked up the stack of documents, Elias's reports, notes, sketches, the blueprints of decades, and fed them into the shredder. The machine whined, gears chewing through decades of work. Shreds fluttered onto the carpet, white confetti of erasure. Each slip a memory erased, a chapter closed. You're done here, the CEO said, voice flat and final. Security will escort you out. The door closed behind Elias, with a hiss, sealing his fate. Keyboard clacks in the distance, indifferent to the drama. He straightened his tie, picked up the battered leather briefcase he'd carried since the first dot-com boom, and walked out, each step echoing with memories. No one met his eyes. The hum of industry continued, oblivious to the absence of its architect, as if nothing had changed, though everything had. Flashback again, this time further. We travel back, peeling away the years, to a moment before anyone knew what was coming. Night in the suburbs, 1997. The world outside was quiet, almost holding its breath, as if waiting for something extraordinary to happen. A single bulb flickered in Elias's garage, casting long, restless shadows across the concrete floor and piles of forgotten tools. It was cold. His breath curled in the air, silver against shadow. The workbench was littered with circuit boards, pizza boxes, and coffee-stained printouts, evidence of countless sleepless nights and stubborn persistence. The world outside was moving fast. AOL, the first MP3s, the wild promise of the internet. But here, Elias moved faster. While others surfed the web, he was building the future, line by line in the dim glow of his garage. He soldered silently, eyes focused through thick glasses. Every line of code he wrote was a risk, a wager against the future. Each spark from his soldering iron was a tiny rebellion against the ordinary. He designed something new, a form of encryption that didn't just lock secrets away but tangled them, making the code itself unknowable without the master key. It was a puzzle only he could solve, a secret language written in logic and light. He tested it, late into the night, the only sounds the click of keys and the low hum of his ancient PC. The world slept, but Elias pressed on, driven by a vision only he could see. Neighbors thought he was eccentric. Maybe he was. But every breakthrough came in isolation, in the cold, in the dark. Genius, after all, is rarely recognized in its own time. His invention was a lock that could not be picked, not by rivals, not by governments, only by Elias. It was a fortress built from numbers, a shield for secrets in a world growing more connected and more vulnerable by the day. He smiled, wiped his brow, and saved the final version to a floppy disk with trembling hands. In that moment, he knew he had changed something fundamental, even if no one else would understand it yet. That garage, oil-stained and cluttered, was the crucible. The world would come to depend on what was born there, but no one would ever see this room or know its secrets. It was a birthplace of ideas, hidden in plain sight. Elias was alone. And that's how genius happens. In the quiet, in the shadows, when no one is watching, history is rewritten by those who dare to dream in the dark. Elias never trusted the suits. When the Silicon Valley firm came calling, all stock options and promises, he'd insisted on one thing, a limited use license. Hidden in the legalese was a clause as sharp as any blade. His core encryption logic, the beating heart of the company's product, was his, not theirs. They could use it, but only while he worked for them. Termination without cause. The license expired. Instantly. It was a small print detail, one the CEO had never bothered to read. Power blinded men to fine print. Elias had watched over decades as companies devoured ideas. He would not be devoured. His lawyer, a shark in thick glasses, had written the clause in blood. The code itself was protected, encrypted, unbreakable, locked to Elias's employment status. No one else could maintain it. Not really. They thought they could squeeze him out, replace him with hungry kids and cloud AI. But the code was old school, elegant, inscrutable. It watched, waited, and enforced the law of its creator. HR didn't know. Legal didn't know. Only Elias and the system itself understood. The company's entire empire was built on borrowed ground, and the clock was ticking. The company was electric with anticipation. The lobby was filled with banners, suits, and government liaisons. A $10 billion contract dangled like bait. The demo had to be perfect. Interns ran cables, engineers rehearsed their lines. The CEO paced, speech memorized, smile weaponized. In the demo room, screens glowed with mock data. Coffee flowed like water, nerves sharper than broken glass. The product, a fortress of encrypted data, unbreakable security, stood at the center of it all. The government team arrived, badges flashing. They wanted proof. Proof that the future was safe in corporate hands. The CEO's voice dropped to a whisper before the show. This is it. No mistakes. This is legacy. Backstage, text checked code, ran diagnostics, triple checked the encryption modules. Only a few noticed the system login screen flicker oddly, a shadow passing over the interface. No one thought of Elias. He was a ghost now, a ruler. The company was ready to show the world how safe it was, how untouchable. The countdown began. 5 minutes to curtain. 4, 3. It hit like a hammer. The instant the demo began, every screen in the building turned blood red. The government officials froze, mid-handshake, mid-smile. The system's core thrashed, then shut down. Across every terminal, every monitor, the same words burned. Patent reversion. Unauthorized use. No one could log in. Keycards failed. The product's engine, the very code they boasted about, had evaporated. Panic swept the room. The CEO's face drained of color. Legal stormed in, shouting, "What does this mean?" Tech stammered, powerless. Keyboard clacks grew frantic, then desperate. The main server room locked down, alarms blaring. Someone tried to reboot from a USB. Nothing. Outside, word spread. Phones rang. The government team stared, stone-faced. Billions vanished in a single click. It was over before anyone understood. The code, the company's soul, belonged to Elias again. The CEO's hand shook. "Get him on the phone," he yelled, voice cracking. But Elias never picked up. Elias walked down the boulevard, coat buttoned against the evening chill. His steps were measured, unhurried. The city's neon rippled across puddles, painting him in shards of blue and red. With every block, the company grew smaller behind him, distant, powerless. He didn't look back. In his pocket, the battered floppy disk, the original key. It was more than code. It was proof, a lifetime's work, intact. The company could build glass towers, hire armies of engineers, but they could never steal what they didn't understand. Justice, he thought, was rarely so precise. Somewhere, sirens wailed, maybe for him, maybe not. Elias's lips twitched, a rare smile. He felt no triumph, only relief. He had given them his best. They had answered with contempt. The world would know now whose hands had built the future, and whose arrogance had torn it down. He walked on, the city alive around him, free, unburdened, whole. Corporate arrogance, it's a cancer, slow, steady, always fatal. For years Elias had watched younger men rise, talking fast, promising more. They mocked the old ways, the hands that built the machine. But when the crisis came, they had nothing. No code, no key, no clue. The value of experience is measured in scars. Elias had earned every one. 38 years of late nights, failures, breakthroughs, and loyalty. The company traded him for a headline. What they didn't know, you can't buy genius, and you can't kill it by shredding paper. Retribution wasn't about revenge. Elias hadn't sabotaged them. He just let the law of his own invention run its course. Call it justice, call it fate. In the end, the world is a ledger. Debts get paid. The company, for all its power, was fragile, built on borrowed brilliance. Elias's silence was the loudest answer they'd ever hear. Some nights, Elias would remember the sounds, the shredder chewing his life to ribbons, keyboards clacking in panic, the CEO's voice, smooth, then strained, then silent. These sounds lingered, echoes in the dark. But there were other sounds too, the steady hum of invention in his garage, the click of a floppy disk locking into place, the city at night, alive and indifferent. Justice wasn't always thunder. Sometimes it was quiet, a lock clicking shut, a door closing, a man walking away. What the company lost was more than code. It was the soul of creation. They tried to erase a man. Instead, they erased themselves. The last sound was the one they feared most. Not a siren, not a crash, just silence. The sound of justice, finally done. Elias smiled, listening to the city. His story wasn't over. It was just